in adding routing is to make it so that different URLs take us to different components, render different stuff, depending on what URL was visited. And there are two parts to that. One part is making sure that when we change components, we update the route by modifying the history. And part of it is making sure that when you directly visit one of those routes, it actually routes to the right place. So what would we like? What if the sign-in page actually had a different URL from the page with all the notes? That seems like that would be cool. So let's see about that. Let's, in app.js, then, if we want to make a route in here, we probably better import something, right? So at the top of app, with our components that we didn't write ourselves, we'll import route from React Router DOM. We don't need to import browser router here. We're not going to use that. If we try to use route without that, it would tell us that's not defined. It wouldn't know what the heck that is. Just like if we tried to use one of our own components without importing it first. So let's say down here in render, we wanted visiting /notes to take us to our notes, to take us to main, and /signin to take us to the sign-in page. Not worrying about this line for right this second. Hey, who knows how you comment JSX? So you're not actually making it an object. What you're doing by using the curly braces is making this a JavaScript expression, right? And then, yeah, you use that comment style from JavaScript to comment out that line. If you use // it'll comment out the closing curly brace too. So you could always make this a multi-line JavaScript expression and put something in there with the //. Now the good news is, at least in this version of Visual Studio Code, it knows this. So if I hit command / or control / on Windows and Linux, oh, but did. Yeah, it did it on a. Why didn't it do it on that line? Well, anyway, sometimes it does it right, sometimes it doesn't. So. Be aware. So, yeah, I actually did want to comment this out because we're going to get to that stuff a different way. So let's add a route. Let's do a switch, right? Because we only want one or the other of these. And let's say route. Hang on, I want to remember what this keyboard shortcut is. Oh, yeah. So even though it's a component, not a built-in HTML thing, you can still use Emmet to expand components like this. Now, in this case, that should be a self-closing tag. So there's an additional Emmet command that I'm running there. That's part of my configuration. I think it's on the tools page. If it isn't and you want to learn how to do it, ask me. I have that mapped to control shift space. So route, what route? How about path equals /notes? I want that to, well, really, I want it to render main. But I suppose, yeah, that's kind of a mess there. So let's move maybe note data and actions. I'm going to get rid of this render main function. And inside my render function, I'm going to have these two objects, note data and actions. And then this route, when I go to notes, I'm going to need a render function because I need to pass in some props other than the ones specific to routing. So I need to pass in an arrow function here. And I'll have that arrow function return some JSX that I'm going to wrap in parentheses because, once again, it's going to be a multi-line JSX. So then I just want main like this. So this route with the path of /notes, I want it to render main here with these props. So I had to move. It doesn't know what the heck note data is unless I actually have a local variable called that. So I moved those from that other function to this one. And now I don't need render main anymore. And for the moment, we'll just not worry about the fact that it doesn't know who the heck the user is. Unless I'm already logged in. So maybe I make sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, guess what else we have to import? Right. Yay! We don't match that route, so it doesn't know what to do. So we'll put another rule in there in our switch, another route. Route path equals /sign-in render. Oops. Arrow function. And I'm going to put it on a new line, not because I actually have to, but because it's going to be easier to read if I do. And I want sign in. Well, actually, sign in now. I'm not even passing any props to it. So I can just do that right here. Let's do that. So I'm passing in a render function directly that just renders this one JSX component. And remember, in a one-line arrow function, whatever you put in that one line is the return value. You don't have to explicitly say return. But this is the same thing as saying return that. And this is effectively a one-line arrow function too. It's just there are line breaks within the parentheses. But that will make it automatically the return value. And then I suppose sooner or later we're going to need a default route that should send us one of these places. But we'll worry about that in a minute. Right now, let's see if we can get to sign in. /sign-in. Yay! What happens with when we sign in now? Sign in with GitHub. Yay! I guess it signed us in. Before, we were deciding which of these things to render based entirely on whether we were signed in already, right? We have this ternary down here. Now we have this route, so we're going to have to change this behavior somewhat. But now we know we can at least get to the sign-in page by visiting sign-in. What about /notes? If we at least, and notice, yeah. If I go to /notes, do I see my notes? Yay! I see my notes. If I log out, okay, my notes go away, but I don't change pages, right? By the way, anyone else bothered by that little outline around this button? It is. It's because of the focus, but we can also do something about it. So let's see. That is the button. So actually, background color transparent isn't doing anything for us. But we could say outline none. Yay. Doesn't do anything. I clicked a force touch there. Yay. No outline. So again, that doesn't redirect us because we no longer have that rule in there saying, if I'm logged in, do this. If I'm logged out, do that. So what do we do? What do we do if it's neither one of those? How about we make it redirect to one of them? How's that? Did you do any redirecting yesterday? I don't think so, right? So that's another thing in React Router. So add another import, redirect. It's just another component we can use. And we'll add one more route to our switch. If it fails to match either of those, route. And once again, render. So I suppose this actually didn't need to be render, right? This could have just been component equals sign in because we didn't pass in any props. So this one, what we're going to do is render a redirect component. And we need to tell it where to redirect to, so we have to use render because we have to pass in a custom prop. Render to equals, and a string is perfectly fine here, /notes. So you're telling it a URL to redirect to if it matches this route, which in the case of the switch means it just didn't route match one of the first two. So now, if we visit just localhost 3000, we end up at the notes because it redirects us there. Cool. Now, we're not signed in, so we don't actually see any notes. We do that. I am once again, once I log in, going to have to manually change my URL. And I end up back here. Now, it would be really cool if when we clicked on these, the URL changed to include that ID. But we'll worry about that in a minute. Add sign in and notes. Add routes for sign in and notes. And I suppose I could say the components instead for sign in and main. Oops.